Well, starting off a marathon between another marathon. How splendid, but not in my bedroom this time. And this is coming out Friday, and we have the second and third one to do, and then the series on Disney Plus on Christmas Eve. Great start, right? What's going on, guys? It's your boy Daily Reacts TV here, and I'm here today to review the Santa Claus movie with Tim Allen, leading up from the movies to the Disney Plus show, which actually I just watched 4 episodes of it. And there's 2 more left that we have to do of the series, which I am very excited to continue the show because the show is actually interesting. It has slight problems, but we'll get into that when we do the show. But yes, I have rewatched all 3 of the Santa Claus movies, so I'm going to do all 3 of those reviews, even though it's going to be pretty exhausting to get 3 reviews of Santa Claus out of the way. And then also, we got to do the Ninja Turtle Marathon, which is actually Out of the Shadows, has to be done by tomorrow, which I'm pretty sure I'll do it tonight before I go to bed. And then we'll do Batman vs. Ninja Turtles on Tuesday, which is the day after Santa Claus 2 review is out. So it's kind of like getting to the point where like I'm getting tired of it, but like it has to be done. Like the videos, like the Santa Claus series has to be done by Christmas, and hopefully get a top 10 favorite Christmas movies to rewatch. But let's start with the first Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen, which follows Scott Calvin, who is a normal guy who will run the business, and then all of a sudden the Santa fall off his roof. He picks up the suit and puts it on and did all the rest of the way for Christmas, but finally realizing that he's transforming to Santa, and basically his son Charlie wanted him to become Santa after the Santa died out of nowhere. And basically Scott finally realized why he was chosen as Santa, which is explained a little bit more in the show, which I'm really excited to explain, but was chosen why he was chosen to be Santa. And he goes on his merry way and finally realized that this is something he needed to do, and he feel like, you know. So I'm not gonna lie, guys. These 2 movies, the first 2 Santa Claus movies, were my favorite Christmas movie, along with the Jim Carrey Grinch movie, which, yes, I'm gonna review that hopefully before the Santa Claus show comes out. So after I'm done with these movies, I'm gonna rewatch the Grinch and review it, not the horror movie. But I rewatched these before getting into the show, and let's be honest, like these movies have been one of my favorite movies to watch as a child. Like the first time I watched Santa Claus 1 instantly became one of my favorite Christmas movies, and it's always been a tradition to sit down and rewatch the Santa Claus trilogy, so as best as I can. So when I rewatched this movie recently, before Ethan came here, before the show came out, I was a little hesitant about it, coming back into it, because I was like, I don't know if it's going to hold up as much, because people were bashing on this trilogy and this franchise for so long now, saying that these movies are not the same as they used to back as kids. This released in 1991. You get what I'm saying? So I get where they're getting from with the Santa Claus movies and the show, and I heard they're bashing on the show as well, and I don't hate the show. I think the show is really good, which we'll get into. Like I said, we'll get into that review early on for the Christmas Eve when I'm done watching the show, when the last 2 episodes come out on Disney Plus, letting you guys know. So obviously, coming back into this trilogy, I was a little nervous, I was a little excited, but at the same time, I was like, I'm a 20-year-old man who hasn't watched these movies since he was 15 years old. Why not revisit Santa Claus with Tim Allen? So I rewatched the trilogy, and what do I think of the first film? It holds up very well as a Christmas classic. As always, I love this movie, like the first 2. The third one has a soft spot in me. It's like Spider-Man 3, which we'll get into that when we get to the next review after Santa Claus 2, where, like I said, I'm filming these back to back. Yeah, so let's start with the good. Tim Allen, great casting. That's all I gotta say. Like, he nailed it out of the park as a selfish person who doesn't care about anything, but he learns throughout the film that he is meant to become Santa Claus. Like, it really shows time and time again through this movie, and it puts me into tears every time watching it, and I'm always have a big smile on my face seeing Tim Allen play the character that at first wasn't like believable for Santa, but then realizing that he was meant to be Santa, it always put a smile on my face. And that scene where he's talking to Charlie saying, "You made me Santa," and it just put a big tear in my eye, like a big tear coming out of my eye. It was so meantful and such an amazing creation of the sound, the music, and the creation of the series. And just the way how Tim Allen's performances, and especially in the second one was my favorite of his performance as this character, and now the show as well. So, like, literally, you see him grow in this film, and it's so iconic. It is so amazing, and it puts a tear in my eye, a tear out of my eye so many times. It's like, it's that good of a film. It's that iconic that you guys have to check it out. You know what I mean? And then you got Charlie, who is played by the same person in every single one of these adaptations. And now he's an adult, and in the show, he's not in it as much, like I said, but we'll get into it. I love Charlie in this movie. I don't think people think he's a bratty little asshole. I don't think that. I think there's parts where he's bratty, but you understand why he's being bratty, because his dad's not there for him every time. And the one Christmas he gets to spend time with his dad and see him transform into Santa, that's exciting. Like, if that was like, I don't know, for example, my Uncle Woody, if he was like out of there, like out and about, just doing random shit, and then he comes back for Christmas Eve and I get to see him transform as Santa, that would be fucking amazing to see that. So I understand why Charlie was always like this through the film, and you felt it. You felt the connection between Charlie and Santa, which we'll get in. That's the next segment. The relationship between Scott and Charlie was very relatable. I really liked it. It really develops more into the film, and you see these two grow closer and closer throughout the film, knowing that Scott is going to be the next Santa, and it shows time and time again. That's what made this movie so iconic as well, is because the relationship between these two. It shows time and time again. And let's get into the next segment. Bernard, he's actually one of my favorite elves from this series, and he hasn't came back in the third movie, but he came back a little bit in the show, which we'll talk about again on Christmas Eve. Like, not on Christmas Eve, but when the review comes out on Christmas Eve. Let you guys know. I was really impressed with Bernard in this movie, and I really wish that he was in Santa Claus 3, but the guy who played him was really sick, and he just couldn't come back for the third movie, so I understand that. So it's understandable. I'm glad they even explained why he looked older in the show. I'm really excited to see what people think of that. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be anything nice, but yeah, that's just how it is. And of course, another thing I got to say is its story, the soundtrack, and of course, the Christmas cheer. This movie has a great Christmas cheer, a great Christmas moment, and this has been all my favorite Christmas adaptations out of any Christmas movie. I'm pretty sure this film is going to grow with me more and more with the soundtrack, most definitely. The soundtrack in the second one was way better, though, let's be honest with that. The story is interesting. It gives you a great connection to the story and to the characters, like I said, and that's how good the story is on the segment. And the final thing I could say that is actually really decent, like really good about the film, is the way how Scott, like I said, Scott learned and everything, but he learns in a different way. Like, no, you know, in any other film where the person learns his lesson after a big tragic accident, but this one, he learns to care more about other people other than himself. In the beginning of the movie, there's this kid who he delivers near the end of the movie as well, and she actually made a cameo in the show, which was really awesome. I was actually laughing my ass off upon that, but he was so mean to the little girl, saying, if you want this, you go back to sleep. But then, like, at the end of the movie, he is nice to her. He learned to grow as Santa, and it was really sweet. And he was really sweet to her, and he said, Merry Christmas, and he drinks the milk, and he's like, it's a little, and she's like, oh yeah, you're lactose intolerant, aren't you? And he's like, you know what? You're right, I am. I thought that was really sweet. I thought that was really well how they handled that part of the film. I thought that was really sweet and not cliche and derivative, but it was really well developed. And as always, there is one problem with Santa Claus, and I'm just going to throw it right out of the bat, is the writing of the scene where Santa, you know, Scott gets arrested for taking Charlie. I don't know why the parents think, oh, yeah, he took Charlie. he gets arrested and he brought in jail, but they broke him out. She burns the forms of the, like, I don't know how to call it. I'm not a police officer. I don't pay attention to police officer shit. But it's like it's like something he can't be near his son. I don't know what that is. You guys can tell me in the comments below. What is it, Madison? What is it? OP. OP? Order of protection. Order of protection. Thank you, Madison. That makes sense. Thank you. It was order of protection. Thank you. That makes sense. I'm going to edit it out anyways. Order of protection. She burns that, and I was just like, don't you have to sign something else that doesn't have him not be separated from his son? But okay. And the cops don't go after him. Okay. I don't know if they erased his memory. I think that's what they did in the show. Okay, that makes more sense towards the film. So overall, Santa Claus was a big tribute for me to watch again. And I used to watch this a lot with my Uncle Woody, my Uncle Brad, Ethan, everyone in my family. My moms know that I love this series, and this series has always grew upon me. I grew up with the series just like the Tobey Maguire movies, but that again, I didn't watch them as a lot. Like, I only watched like once in a lifetime in my life. And this film is really enjoyable, which is why I'm giving Santa Claus a very light 10 out of 10. It is an amazing treat to sit down and rewatch one of your favorite movies as a kid, and now I'm going to review the second one right after this. And that is my review of Santa Claus 1. I'd love to know what you guys think of Santa Claus 1. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you just like in the mid with me? You're just like in the mid, or do you love it more than I do? I would love to know your guys' comment, like your guys' opinion on the Santa Claus movie. As always, smack the like button, also press the red button, subscribe, turn on notifications, be notified video I make. Go on a link in the description to my gaming channel, my horror channel, and my Discord server. As always, I'm Daily Reacts. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Take care, guys.
Charlie, time to come inside. Mom, stupid ball's not working. Shoot.
Hey, Sport.
Dad!
You missed me already? You've been gone, what, 10 minutes? Give me a break. I was on my way to Cleveland. Come here, give me a hug. Do you want to go for a quick ride?
Yeah!
Of course, it's up to your mom.
Please, Mom?